just let go. That's all you got to do, fam.
But the fight continues when the men fall to the ground again.
Ooh.
When we were just talking about Paramount before, though, I really feel like the beginning of this year, for some reason, has just felt like a lot bigger than the past few years in combat sports. Like, just for me, because, you know, with the Paramount era, you have Zuffa Boxing starting, and, like, we've already talked about kind of, like, the upward trajectory of, like, where the actual sport of boxing is going, like, outside of Zuffa, because we're starting to get, like, more of the fights that we actually want to see. And, like, one of those was this weekend. So I've been hyped, like, because, you know, you had UFC 324, Zuffa Boxing 1, then literally the week after you have another UFC numbered card along with this Lopez versus Stevenson fight. And then, like, even for us, like, next week, even though the UFC card is in the Apex, then you still have Bare Knuckle, Knucklemania 6. And so, like, there's just I feel like there's so much going on, and, like, it's all big events to start the year. And, like, of course you can't.
But why do you think that is?
Well, some of it's definitely Paramount. I think it just has to be, at least on the UFC side of it. Just because, like, you know, you're starting a new broadcast deal.
But do you think that's more the case with last week's pay-per-view, since it was the first one and the main event was for an interim belt, as opposed to this week where, the UFC brass felt that Diego Lopez needed to fight Volkanovski again immediately, pretty much, for the belt. So you tell me, were they really going balls to the wall last week to get as much of a casual audience as they could? Or
I think so.
Yeah.
Because the other thing is, too, like, when I recorded last week's podcast, the numbers hadn't come out yet for Paramount, and apparently they had, like, 5.4 million viewers at one point, which is, like, a modern record. I think
they want to warm the new audience up to what it's already been and how the UFC model works, and how they're gonna go to countries, specific certain venues, and they're gonna fill it out with every fight with an Australian fighter, for instance.
And then this week they're getting introduced to the Apex.
Yeah.
I
didn't even think about that.
Yeah, well, I mean, they've been in the Apex for Zuffa Boxing, so I guess, like, technically they've already seen it. And I feel like a lot of UFC fans, I mean, like, they just came over. But, I mean, they had to have at least some new viewers. Apparently, like, they had, like, 1.1 million new subscriptions for the UFC event. So, like, that's another big thing. You'd have to imagine that that's a big deal. I mean, 324 was, like, the perfect storm. I think that event could not have gone any better than it did. And then 325, you have, even though, like, the fight itself for the main event wasn't exactly, like, the matchup that everybody wanted to see, it's still Volkanovski, who's a big star in the UFC nowadays. A lot of fans like him. And same thing with Diego Lopez. Like, you know, we're going to get into that a little bit, like Diego Lopez deserving the title shot or not, but, like, none of our opinions reflect negatively, like, at all on Diego. It has nothing to do with him. It's just, like, well, maybe we should just get right into it then, because if we're going to start talking about it, we might as well talk about the fight. But in case you guys didn't see it, spoiler alert, but Alexander Volkanovski dominated Diego Lopez once again, arguably even more one-sided than the first fight, depending on what stats or visuals you're looking at. But yeah, he gets the unanimous decision again over Lopez. And this fight, man, like, it was similar to the first one in some ways. It was less of, like, a brawl than the first one was. This was, like, a technical fight for both guys, really. But Diego, I don't know what Diego Lopez's game plan was coming into this, because he really didn't do much differently than the first fight. He was giving Volk, like, some different looks, switched stances a little more, walked him down a little more. But the thing is, like, when he was walking him down, he wasn't throwing. He was just following Volk, just like he did in the first fight. And you can't follow a guy like Volk because his footwork is so good. His fight IQ is so much above everybody else in that division. Like, you can't follow that guy. And the thing is, in both of the fights now with Diego Lopez, Volkanovski has led the dance, and that's ultimately the reason why he's won both of these fights.
Yeah, well, so here I'll play the defense here because I think when you put yourself into Diego Lopez's shoes, I think he's so to this point he's fought in his fair share of 5-round fights. So there's that kind of gets put on the back burners to like the whole experience thing that Volk has defended the title so many times, and that why would he go into a fight with Diego Lopez, especially a rematch that he won the first time, any much differently than he did into this rematch that he did the first time? Well, because a guy like Diego Lopez, well, he even claimed before the fight that he had a different plan this time around, and to me that says he's gonna just try to finish it early, and he's not gonna play the long game. He's not gonna he's not gonna feint and whatnot as much, and he's going to if whenever Volkanovski whenever he gets Volk to react either with a feint or any head movement or whatnot, try to move Volk off the center line, then he's gonna just blitz him forward and throw as many combos as he can, just all caution to the wind. But you have to also think that Volkanovski probably also is trained for that, prepared for that, because the guys just seen just about everything to this point in the same division, that it really just it's just not everyone can. And I know obviously he had to go up to fight Islam Makhachev, but Islam Makhachev is now the pound for pound champ for a reason. Like, now he's a 2-time division champion. Like, even if somehow, some way, just let's say, somehow, some way, Islam Makhachev went down and fought Volk at 145, then
you have to cut both legs off.
If it was possible.
I don't think it is.
If it was possible in any way, then how much more of a chance would you give Volkanovski? That's kind of the hypothetical I'm putting, because not everyone is just going to be able to manhandle their opponent the way Islam Makhachev does. So you kind of already take out the grappling game with this fight, and now it's just kind of, well, how do you it takes as much as it could take that one shot to drop Volkanovski. How are you going to land that one shot? How are you going to set it up?
Well, you got to cut off the cage. He didn't cut off the cage. That was the big key in this fight. And like, it's, what's weird? Like, it's not like I'm coming up with like a crazy point. Like, everybody was saying this. He did his best moments in that first fight is when he was able to cut off the cage and blitz Volkanovski. And a lot of people, and I get what you're saying, like Volk was probably more ready for something like that in this fight, but you can't fight him the same way you did in the first fight, because he just got picked apart again. And I think that Volkanovski's fight IQ and his movement is just so much better than the other featherweights right now. You have to take at least some sort of calculated risk to beat him. You can't just stand there following him around. If you're letting Volk move, you're not going to win against him. It's just not possible. Like, that's why even when I think about the other contenders right now, like the ones that got skipped over, Evloev and Murphy, like, I love a Volkanovski versus Lerone Murphy fight, but then I think about it, I'm like, I think everything that Lerone does well, Volkanovski does better. And then Evloev, he's nowhere near as good on the feet as Volkanovski. But that's kind of a different fight, because I don't know if Volkanovski's really fought a grappler to that level yet. Which is kind of, besides Islam, but I'm saying like at 45. Like, yeah, we haven't really seen
that's
him.
Why I had that. Well, exactly. That's why I had to literally just imagine in my head, if, in an alternate universe, if Islam Makhachev fought at 145 instead.
Yeah, my point doesn't have anything to do with how Volk was fighting. It has more to do with what Diego did. Because when you get a rematch, especially the way that he got this rematch, like stepping over two other more worthy contenders, the fact that he fought this fight almost identically to how he fought in the first fight, like, this was kind of my big point with this fight. And there's no disrespect towards Diego Lopez whatsoever. I love watching Diego Lopez fight. But this was a waste of time, this fight. It went pretty much similar to the first fight, arguably even more one-sided in my opinion. And now I'm sitting here like, we still have two contenders who need to fight for the belt. And now we just extended this timeline another few months because it's like, why did we need to have this fight? Like, we didn't learn anything really, in my opinion.
But you have to think the matchmakers with a guy like Diego Lopez who's burst onto the scene as fast as he has. I think they want to see where he truly stands sooner rather than later than just put him on the back burner and just have him just loaded in the chamber. Like, the guy stays ready. We know that already, for anybody.
His career started with that. Yeah. If you really think about it, with Evloev, fought him on short notice in his debut. Top contender. That was crazy. I still can't believe that fight was like that actually happened. It feels so long ago.
And then the night he was supposed to fight Brian Ortega, that whole thing got changed around. So
Danny, you guys stepping up on 2 hours notice out. But like, the thing is, Diego doesn't get enough credit for that either. He didn't have to take that fight. Like, he still took that fight on 2 hours notice and he won. So, and a completely different style, by the way.
I think they get that he stays ready. He's so what are we talking age-wise? Because obviously Volk is up there, and Diego Lopez, I want to say he's not even in his true prime yet, but I could
he's
be
31,
wrong.
so he's like right.
Okay,
he's really right in it.
So he's actually older than I thought. Okay,
he's about in it.
All right, fair enough. So I think my point still stands that they want to squeeze as much as they can out of a guy like Diego Lopez because he has been so exciting and active for them, and that will get you very far one way or the other. Even if you don't ever hold a championship, you'll get to fight for it twice like him. So that's not really, but at the same time, still the fight still has to happen. The fight still has to happen. You still got to put on. You still want to, especially now with the Paramount deal and all the new bonuses and all that.
Love that, by the way. I don't know if I talked about that last week, but it's a step in the right direction.
You're right. You're
not there yet, but it's good.
The microscope, it increases
also
even
doing
more.
That, dude?
God damn it.
I was gonna say that was on camera, dude. Now I can't even. Like, I could have just ignored that, but it's like
just done it like this,
dude. Like, I've never seen anyone put a microscope right here and go like that.
Now you're doing it.
Well, I'm check the tape. He did it first. Oh man, I don't even know.
Microscope goes like this, all right?
Yeah, I don't know if people twist it like quite as drastically. I think it's like more like a little.
Yeah, just a little bit.
And like I said, not here.
Yeah. We're gonna wipe that image out of our heads now.
Yeah, man. No microscope talk on the podcast. That's so
banned. He's banned that word.
Oh Jesus.
But
that completely threw me off.
No, I was saying that in the main event especially, it becomes that much more like you're gonna be scrutinized even harder than guys are gonna be scrutinized even harder than they were before. So, but I really haven't seen it with Diego Lopez. I mean, you just stated you haven't held back your side of it and your thoughts, but I don't know. It's more praise to Volkanovski than I've seen criticism of Diego Lopez.
Yeah, no, I mean, like I said, it has nothing to do with
everyone just
Diego.
saying that's he got rinsed.
If you're Diego Lopez, why would you not take a title fight? Like, I don't blame him at all. I just think the UFC making this fight is kind of ridiculous because now you see the way that it went, and it's like we learned a little bit. Obviously, it wasn't exactly the same as the first fight, but you have to wonder about Diego's fight IQ going into a fight like that and fighting nearly the exact same way when you were basically gifted the opportunity to fight him again, and you don't do really anything different. And even the things that he did differently, he didn't really look that comfortable. Like, I noticed he switched to southpaw a lot in this fight, and every time he was throwing from southpaw, it just didn't look comfortable. And Volk was countering a lot better during that. And like, I'll say this about Volkanovski too, like, I think this is almost like a new era for Volk, because in his first title reign, he was still so athletic in the midst of his prime, and he was able to really dominate guys in every way. But now, in the second title reign, he's a bit older. He's not as athletic as he used to be, but now he's so much smarter in there than the rest of the featherweights right now. And that's why I'm like, even though a lot of these guys are more athletic than him and have tools to beat him, because Volk isn't as durable as he used to be. But the thing is, he's so much smarter that he doesn't put himself into many positions where he's making mistakes and gets hit. Like, that's the problem. Because Diego Lopez is a phenomenal fighter. But it's like, if you can't cut off the cage and stop Volk from that constant movement, you're never going to put him in those positions. It's just not going to happen. That's why the Evloev fight intrigues me, because that's different. Because if he fights Lerone Murphy, again, I just don't know how much differently it goes than a fight like this, because I think Lerone's really good, but Volk is that times 20. He's so far ahead of everybody in fight IQ, in my opinion, that it gets him these wins that don't, like, because like I said, like, think about like when Volk fought Holloway, when Volk was fighting Yair Rodriguez, the Korean Zombie. That was like Volk in his prime, athletic prime. And he was able to do a lot more physically. But then, you get knocked out a few times. His durability isn't the same. He's not as fast as he used to be. He's not as explosive. But his brain is so much, like, his IQ is just through the roof, man. And I think that that's what's helping him win a lot of these fights.
It was also you had to give him the main event for this card in particular, and they just didn't see They just don't see Lerone Murphy or Movsar Evloev main eventing a pay-per-view right now.
Apparently they're thinking this is what Volk was saying after the fight. He's hearing rumblings that they're trying to make Movsar versus Lerone for a number one contender fight, which, I mean, shit, man, if you're not going to give them a title shot, you might as well. I mean, at least eliminate one of them. I mean, you already skipped two, so at that point, what have you got to lose by making them fight? It only helps one of their title opportunities. The thing is, like, I just don't know if either of these guys have what it takes to beat him. Movsar is the one I'm intrigued by, but I think a fight with Lerone Murphy will tell us a lot if they do have that fight, because Lerone fights pretty similar to Volkanovski. Honestly, he fights similar to how Volkanovski fought back in his athletic prime. But I just don't think the IQ is the same. I think that Volk is thinking about things in the cage that other fighters, not only like are they not thinking about the things that Volk is considering, they don't even like know where to begin. Like, I just think he's so far ahead of everybody in that sense. And it's kind of like when John Jones was champion towards the end of his light heavyweight run, like when he wasn't as athletic as he used to be, but he was still beating these guys because he was just so much smarter. And he knew how to manage range. He knew how to move. He knew how to feint and make you follow every little thing that he does, so you just get frozen in there. And that's how Diego looked in this fight. He was following him, but he wasn't doing anything.
And just to reinforce your point about the durability and the athleticism, is that you have to make Volkanovski nowadays. You have to make Volkanovski feel like he has to finish you, because if Diego Lopez, which we've become accustomed to Diego Lopez fighting freely and light on his feet and just the exciting, just flash kind of flair he fight style he brings to his fights, then who's to say that he doesn't going into the championship rounds isn't up, or even going in the fifth round, who's to say he is not up like 3-2 at that point, if he's not really just trying to, because Volkanovski is the one who's gonna do the picking apart. Like, he's the one who's gonna fight as well as he off the back foot as he does on the front foot. You're the one that has to do the damage early and often, especially with, well, I mean, we're not going to go into a whole tangent about the judging and all that. There was a fight on the prelims that was, horrible decision, but that's what we know, how much the judges are looking for, that damage in the significant strike category. So if Diego Lopez is just, maybe he's not maybe the volume's not there as much, but he's got he's got him bloodied up and just seeming like clearly just rattled and having his full undivided attention, and just like now, not to say that Volk has to completely go for it, but I think that's where you want Volkanovski nowadays. Like, you got to make him feel like he can't just lead the dance.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. You just can't let Volk dictate the pace. And like what you just said, I agree with you 100%. Like, that's what we all wish Diego did, and he didn't do it.
Because I think you're trying to beat Volkanovski in a chess match.
Not possible.
You can't do that.
Yeah, not possible. I don't think anybody at 145 can do that right now. I truly don't.
Because back then, when in his first title reign, he could beat you in the chess match, and he could just fight freely, throw whatever he wanted essentially, and
see, that's the thing. Now
still hold his own on the ground. Like, just the most well-rounded fighter the UFC arguably had at the time. So now, like, yeah, maybe a Lerone Murphy, he goes for it early, and then obviously, like, yeah, the cardio, and the cardio is gonna play a factor into that, because if you get, like, Volk's not gonna tire out rounds 4 to 5, but if you damage him early enough through the first 3 rounds or so, he's not gonna have much of a choice at that point. Like, he's just gonna have to go for it. And yeah,
I just don't know if there's anyone who can bring that out right now, like, stylistically. I only think Evloev.
Exactly. He has all the tells right now, and especially when you fight like how Diego Lopez fought last night.
It's not the way to do it.
And you give him those tells. Even switching stances, like, okay, then now I get to just counter, and yeah, that's a bad recipe to just kind of just get to get 49-46
yeah,
50-45.
That's true. I mean, I don't know, man. It was just not the game plan that I expected from Diego. I thought Diego was going to be able to cut off the cage a lot more than he did if he was going to succeed in this fight, and this was truly just a worse version of the first fight, in all honesty. But, we'll see what happens next, man. There's a lot to...
Because the durability, athleticism might not be there as much anymore, but the bulldog pace is still there. And, as long as you get him to circle instead of just kind of standing his ground and reacting, just kind of being one step ahead of you in the sense that whatever you're going to do, I'm just going to do it better kind of way. You get him to circle and kind of have to change the angles, move him off the center line and all that. You have a chance that way. So
it's all it comes down to. It's just a matter of if anybody can do it.
Yeah,
Evloev's the one I want to see, man.
It's not the way Diego Lopez should fight going forward, clearly, but especially against Volkanovski, and I think just too much in his head, just trying to outsmart him.
Yeah. Well, at this point, Diego's all the way at the bottom of the queue. Like, that's kind of, I was gonna say that before, actually, when you were saying, like, oh well, they probably don't want to, like, waste a guy like Diego while the iron's hot, but it's like, well, you kind of just did. You just put him in a title fight that he didn't deserve, and he got his ass beat.
Yeah.
Like, now he's not getting a title shot anytime soon, especially if Volk remains champion. Maybe if Movsar Lerone I think if Movsar beats Volkanovski, then Diego's right up there. But again, until I see someone do it, I don't know who beats Volk right now at 145.
Yeah.
Evloev's the one I want to see. That's the matchup that stylistically I could see it playing out decently well for Movsar, unlike everybody else right now in the division. But, if they make Movsar versus Lerone Murphy, we're not going to have to wait long to find out who's next, and that's the fun part. But what's up, guys? Sorry to interrupt the podcast real quick, but we have a message for you guys.
If you enjoy the Her Hamburg's content, you want to see more, consider subscribing to the channel, leaving a like on the videos, all sorts of fight content as much as possible, podcasts, interviews, vlogs. We have it all over here, so thank you, appreciate it.
We appreciate you, and like he said, please subscribe. And now, back to the show. Let's move on to the co-main, man. Benoit Saint-Denis TKO'd Dan Hooker in the second round from full mount in their fight. And, like, I don't know. There's a lot of... So my main conversation that, like, I was having with myself about this fight was...
Just my conversation, even during the fight, is just what a fucking machine Benoit Saint-Denis is, and has the capability to be.
I don't know, though. I don't know. Because you can't run through punches. You can't do that. You could do that against Dan Hooker. You can't do that against Ilia Topuria. You'll get knocked the fuck out. I don't care how good your grappling is.
Yeah, but like, so if you just said right there pretty much, he's not particularly close to an Ilia Topuria fight anyways.
I don't know. He might be, man. I mean, how far away could he be?
Then yeah, well, I mean,
they're talking about him versus maybe Arman next, and if he beats Arman, then at that point,
that's who he called out afterwards, right?
And I could see them making that fight, man. Like, but I don't know though, because at the same time, that's a risky fight, and I do think that they like Benoit Saint-Denis, and I don't know if you risk having him lose against Arman, because I do think he would lose that fight, but I don't know, man. Like that. So, like, I'll tell you kind of where my head was at in this fight. Like, watching the fight, I agreed with you. Like, I was completely blown away by his performance, especially considering how much Dan Hooker was piecing up the body in the first part of the fight. And then Benoit Saint-Denis was able to just, fall back on his grappling. And honestly, the other thing is, too, that I feel like nobody's talking about this. And I don't even mean this in, like, a disrespectful sort of way, but it's not like Benoit Saint-Denis, like, took Dan Hooker down and beat him up at the end of that fight. That happened because Dan Hooker made a mistake. Dan Hooker tried to take him down for whatever reason. And, like, when you're trying to take down a grappler who's, like, worlds better than you, I mean, that's just a dumb idea. And, like, if I remember correctly, Hooker he had him, like, in a takedown, and then Benoit Saint-Denis kind of just, like, reversed him in midair and then ended up in full mount. Like, it wasn't like Benoit just shot a double leg and got Dan Hooker down and worked to the position. It was more of a result of Dan Hooker's ridiculous mistake, like, to me. And that's not saying that Benoit Saint-Denis is not a great grappler, because, like, on top, he's nasty, dude. I mean, the ground and pound. This dude isn't, like, the type of guy who's trying to just lay on top of you and win around 10-9. He's trying to finish the fight at all times, which I love, man. But, I don't know. I feel like people are kind of overselling how insane this win is, because he's obviously really talented, but I'm not, like, sold on his ceiling yet, because, like, the conversations that I'm hearing after this fight is like, man, like, this dude could really go on a run for the title. I'm like, I don't know, man. Because if he runs into a guy like maybe Oliveira or Holloway, I think it goes similar to how the Dustin Poirier fight went. I don't think he's gotten much better since then on the feet. But if he gets you to the ground, man, it's hard to beat a guy like that. But considering that this fight, he didn't exactly do a great job at getting Dan Hooker to the ground at will. And like I said, the fight ending sequence came from a mistake on Dan Hooker's end. It wasn't like Benoit planned that. So yeah. I don't know. I was impressed, but I'm not, like, as impressed as other people are, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well,
he's a dark horse, though, man. Like, he could be. I'm not saying he can't be champion.
Dan Hooker, I have to think, makes that kind of mental mistake because he's not entirely. I'll just say he's not. Or maybe he is ready. Maybe he does understand Benoit Saint-Denis is looking to finish the fight at any position in any way of the fight. But Dan Hooker kind of is like, hey, I'll fight to a decision, something like, yeah.
Well, I think part of it
somehow get to a 29-28 split decision somehow, and yeah, who's to say if he wins the fight or not? But that's because other than that, Dan Hooker's just at the point of his career where he really can't accumulate much more damage anyways. Like, he'll end up like suffering some sort of career-ending injury or something, I have to think. And then either that or he's just going to go out like kind of how he did here. I mean, it wasn't as bad. He didn't get knocked out cold or anything, but that could happen should he, just continue to just kind of just fight at the frenetic pace that he does.
He's had such an up and down career.
So I guess he's trying to slow the tempo a little bit, shoot for the takedown, and he was the wrong. Benoit Saint Denis the wrong guy to do that with.
I think he kind of got overwhelmed by the constant pressure. That's the other thing that Benoit does so well. He just moves forward, and just like his pressure is just unreal, man. But like Dan Hooker, I'm kind of just curious because I want to say he's had win streak, losing streak, win streak, losing streak. Like he's very streaky. Like, yeah, I'm looking at his fight. Dude, I could go all the way back down to 2018. He went on a 4-fight win streak, lost to Edson Barboza badly. I don't know if you've ever seen that fight. That was a brutal one. Like, and then he wins 3 straight again, loses 2, wins 1, loses 2, and then wins 3, loses 2. Like, yeah, he wins a few, loses a couple, wins a few, loses a couple. So, I mean, he's your typical, like, middle of the pack, like, top 10 test at lightweight. And I think that's fair to say at this point. Like, it sucks to call a guy like Dan Hooker a gatekeeper, but that's really what this is. And the thing with Dan as well, like, this is why I like Dan. Like, when I hear his interviews and stuff, I remember when he lost to Arman, he was talking to, I think it was Oscar Willis from the Mac Life, and he says, you know what? He goes, I know I'm probably never winning a title, so my goal for the rest of my career is to just ruin as many other people's dreams as possible. And it's like, I might win some, I might lose some, but I want to ruin some people's dreams. And I'm like, you know what? If that's your goal, shout out, man. Why not? But Benoit Saint Denis,
yeah, because he has that style where he's just throwing constantly, and there's not much wasted movement to the way Dan Hooker fights. It's just that kind of car crash sort of fight style, phone booth kind of fight style,
leads to a lot of mistakes.
Yeah, overwhelmed, like you said. Just in the moment, especially against a guy who just has a better base than you, can get you down at will, especially if he's got you back against the cage like Benoit Saint Denis does. So Dan Hooker just try to flip the script on him, get to him first before Benoit Saint Denis could get to him, and it didn't work at all.
I'll say this for Dan though, like his grappling, it's gotten better than people give him credit for. Like his takedown defense has improved a lot, and he does have like some good, like offensive reactions to takedowns. Like he's very good at like grabbing the neck, like in a guillotine or a ninja choke, whatever's like kind of available to him. But the thing is, against a guy like BSD, once you get taken down, it's kind of hard to get back up, especially against a guy like that who's looking to do damage and not just
he's got very good like situational jiu-jitsu, like if he gets taken down first, then he can hold his own pretty well.
Yeah, but this fight, like, again, when you're in a 50-50 position against a guy like Benoit Saint Denis and you're not as good of a grappler as he is, that's what leads to fights like this where it ends super quickly after it gets to the ground. Because like I said, it wasn't like BSD planned for it to go the way that it ended up going. It's because Dan Hooker made just a massive mistake. So impressive win for BSD, but I want to see a little bit more. I would love to see the Arman fight.
Yeah,
personally.
well, I mean, there you go. I think so. You tell me why you would like to see the Arman fight.
Because I think that's a real test for him.
Okay.
But I don't know if the UFC risks that.
I figured that would be the answer. But at the same time, is Arman Tsarukyan, is he just still on that much more of a level than Benoit Saint Denis is right now?
Well, you know what I'd actually compare this fight to? I would compare it to sort of what I was saying about Volk and Murphy. If like that hypothetical fight, I think Arman is a very similar fighter, to Benoit Saint Denis, but he does everything just a little bit better. And like I would favor Arman in that fight. But I do think BSD could win. Like it's not impossible. But I don't know. It's a fight that I'd want to see. I just don't know if the UFC does it. But the reason why I think it is like possible is because Dana keeps saying that Arman's fighting again. He's not just getting a title fight. So he's got to fight somebody. And like I don't know if they want to feed a Max Holloway or Charles Oliveira winner to Arman Tsarukyan. Maybe they will, because maybe they think if Arman gets a win over a big name, then it's worthy of a title shot. But I don't know, man. Like I don't think like they have a problem with Arman like personally, like some people think, but I do think that they see him as like a liability, because you have a guy like, you know, he pulled out of a title fight 2 days before, and then besides that you had that incident at UFC 300 where he hit the fan. Then you had him headbutting Dan Hooker at the UFC Qatar card, and apparently Dan Hooker said that broke his nose. I don't know how true that is, but like they can't have that. Like there's a lot of people who are saying it's not a big deal, who cares? I'm like, no, it kind of is. Like when they're not in the cage, you can't just hit your opponent. Like that's just assault at that point. Like yeah, they're fighters, it doesn't really matter, but like you can't, because imagine if Dan Hooker couldn't fight after that.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if the UFC trusts him. I think that's what it is. I don't think they have like there's people over the years like Tito Ortiz who like Dana White had a very bad relationship with. I don't think that he has like any disdain for Arman as a person. I think it's just all the mishaps that have happened.
Because you'd have to think right now, since he has to fight his way to a title, and because he's that good and is capable of beating anybody, he's just saying right now, he's using that sure, we'll call it a tactic, just like, oh, nobody wants to fight me anyways. I'm over here chilling. I'm eating the whole Popeyes menu.
Bro, his social media lately has been awesome.
Nobody actually wants to fight me while I just relax and live.
Did you see him with Nina? With Nina, then he asks her how old she is, and he didn't know that she was like 37. And he goes, 37? No, 25.
That was so strange, that whole thing.
He's funny, man. I love it. I'm all in on Arman Tsarukyan's
It's like, why didn't the cameraman eat yet?
Yeah, dude, did you see when he was with that guy, the kid of Mayton Evan? I don't know how to say his name, but the kid with the long...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, my God. And the fucking other guy he's got with him, Mike with the crazy eyes. That shit was so funny. Like, dude... They were showing him and the guy Mike behind him, and he's doing all the crazy shit with his eyes, and Arman just goes, I'll tell you, brother, he goes, I do lots of interviews this week. This first time I'm a little scared. little scared. But he's a character. I'm glad that we're getting to see more of him, despite it being for like kind of a shitty reason, because you know he's another guy who you really want to see fight for the title.
Yeah, but you have to think now, because if he does win the belt, then he's gonna switch up and he's gonna be very picky and very choosy about who he fights next.
I think he's a gamer, man. I think he just wants to beat the best. Like I don't think. I mean, clearly he doesn't care.
But
about,
if he beats Ilia Topuria or Justin Gaethje, then he would have already beaten the best. So.
True, but they're not giving him the opportunity. He has to get an opportunity. It's crazy that Justin Gaethje's going to be fighting for the title before Arman Tsarukyan. That's actually insane to me. But hey, man, we'll see what happens. That's what we always say on this show. I feel like that's how every conversation ends. Like there's all these hypotheticals, all these paths that it could go down, but at the end of the day, who knows, man?
Well, no, it's true. I mean, literally, it's truly like we'll see what happens, because freaking UFC news stuff that happens throughout the week, especially after we record this podcast, it is some of the most unimaginable shit you can think of. So
I'm like looking on my phone tomorrow. I'm like, Volkanovski fighting on the White House card against Evan Ortiz. It's like, just gets the title shot. That's who's getting the title shot at 45. Screw Arman. I'm starting to think like Dana. Screw Arman. What are you talking about, lightweight? Screw Mosar, screw Lerone. Tiz is getting the title shot next versus Volk. You heard it here first. Reported by the Herd Handbook.
Hey, my line's always open. You know, my email's available.
You take the fight on short notice like Danny Ige
I'll
style.
take it on short notice too. I'll weigh in as the backup fighter.
God, that'd be so funny.
I think I'm weighing in around slightly over 145 these days.
Here we go. Here we go. The title run starts now. Tiz gets on the scale and just passes out like that other poor guy last week. I shouldn't laugh at that. That was really horrible. But
no, I know that was horrible.
To be clear, I'm laughing at that happening to you.
I think that would. I think that's something that would happen to me.
Oh my God, Tiz weight cutting. Tiz flyweight champion 2028. Diet for a couple of years, get down to 25, dude.
Now I'm just recording this podcast dehydrated, looking at the secret juice.
Yeah, the secret juice might be what you have to drink after the weight cut.
Yeah.
Who knows what's in there, man? But all right, let's move on to another lightweight fight, should we? Mauricio Ruffy, nasty finish over Rafael Fiziev, and like, man, this is another. Because Mauricio Ruffy, I almost think of him in a similar way as Benoit Saint-Denis. Like, I see the potential to get towards the top, but similar to BSD, there's like glaring flaws still that I think need to be corrected. And like in the first round of this fight, Fiziev was doing pretty well, kicking the legs and picking Ruffy apart. But once Ruffy started to rely more on his jab, that's when he was starting to control the fight a lot more. And he was really doing well, like at range, landing those straight punches, which you'd think like would be part of the game plan anyway, considering how big he is for the weight class. But Ruffy does like to brawl sometimes, for better or for worse. But I think training with a guy like Volk is going to help him in the long run, even if John Silva is looking to kill him. But, oh, man. You know what's funny? I love it, like, the fighting nerds, like, as a team, they don't even care that Ruffy is training with Volk on the side, but, like, for some reason, John Silva's just taking it ultra personal. Like, he's, like, the only one out of the fighting nerds who has, like, a genuine problem with it. Which is kind of funny. Like they think that it's the whole team, but it's not. Like,
John Silva fought at 155 at some point in this UFC career, right? Yeah, move him up, and we'll see the two fighting nerds go at it.
That would be such a good fight. God, that would be such a good fight. But yeah, man. I mean, Ruffy. I don't have as much to say about this fight, honestly. Like, I think that he has a lot of potential just because of his size, and he's so good on the feet. He just kind of has to like tailor his style a little more to like what his strengths are rather than kind of just brawling.
Yeah, well, here's why this came off as so shocking to the average fan. It's because you'd expect Fiziev to just fight to an easy decision essentially, because Mauricio, just like I had him in the first round, it had Mauricio Ruffy reeling somewhat in the third round, tired maybe. And he's just going for that one shot knockout. Whereas Rafael Fiziev is usually so locked in the pocket when he throws, and also has he more so just has the ability to put it all together with combinations and finish you that way. But I mean, the guy can also take it as hard as he gives it. So I mean, that's kind of, I think everyone just kind of saw I'll just say like the chalk kind of outcome where Fiziev 29-28, something like that, and that's it. Just he's right back into the thick of the title picture, and nobody really bats an eye to what's been going on with Rafael Fiziev. And now this loss, it's back. It's now it sends him back, like, I'd say pretty badly actually, and especially in this division. Like, there's so many guys already. It's at the top that need to be talked about and need to be booked like as soon as possible. Whereas now Rafael Fiziev, I mean, he's just gonna have to fight someone coming off a loss now. So
I'm glad you brought that up though too, because like Fiziev, when you really think about it, like he's had a lot of big opportunities and he's never capitalized on it. And I think we're starting to see a peak of Fiziev unless he can get a little bit better, because he's had so many opportunities to improve and he's had so many opportunities against big names and he just can't capitalize. And now you lose to a guy like Ruffy, who's good but is more on the come up. That, like, cause think about it, Fiziev fought 2 really close fights against Justin Gaethje, who's going to be fighting for the title, and like it just feels like there was so much more potential and he just hasn't lived up to that. And I hope that Ruffy doesn't suffer the same fate, because he's another guy who has a lot of talent, but it's like if he can't fix the flaws that he has, he's not going to get past a certain point either, because he's that's the other thing with Fiziev. I know he's a striker, but like he should have went for some takedowns in this fight. Ruffy has no ground game. Like, it doesn't take much. You don't have to be a Khabib level wrestler to get Ruffy to the ground and beat him up there. Like, I wasn't impressed with how Fiziev ended up fighting in this one, but it is what it is. Ruffy's a really good fighter, and he proved it by knocking Fiziev out. And that was a beautiful finish, by the way, because like I said, Ruffy was just popping that jab out, hitting Fiziev with it at will, and then eventually started to put together some 1-2s and then hit him with that straight right. Just brutal. And like the way that he kept his composure to finish that fight afterwards, just beautiful. I loved watching that. It was beautiful. So let's I'm curious to see what happens with Ruffy next. I mean, he called out Conor McGregor, which I mean, it's not gonna happen. maybe it could, but I doubt it. That's not well, any fight with McGregor is a big fight, but there's like 900 other options. McGregor versus Tiz. McGregor versus Tiz. When Volk falls out of the White House going, the main event that we talked about, Tiz is going to be fighting Conor McGregor on short notice at 55.
Yeah. Those are the kind of guys I only fight.
Yeah, Tiz only takes the biggest matchups. Tiz ain't here to fucking fight Bobby Green.
On the prelim.
That's mean. Guy just threw a complete stray. that was mean of me. I like Bobby Green. King Green, excuse me. But yeah, man, let's talk about these heavyweights. Speaking of lower level fights. So yeah, man, we got to talk about this. And I have a rant here, and I know you agree with me, so I'm just curious what you think of it. But Talison Teixeira beats Tai Tuivasa by unanimous decision in one of the worst heavyweight fights you'll ever see in a top promotion like the UFC. Like, mind you, this was number 12 versus number 15. And they were both completely out of energy by the end of the first round. And, like, this was just completely embarrassing by the UFC. Like, how could you watch that fight and then say to yourself, both of those guys are top 15 heavyweights in the entire world? Like, this fight was just embarrassing for Teixeira. It was embarrassing for Tuivasa. And, like I said, for the UFC, they should have the most embarrassment with this fight. Like, just crazy that this is considered the top level. Like, this heavyweight division right now completely sucks. We've been saying it for such a long time now, and this fight was a perfect example of where this division is at right now, outside of like the top 3 or 4 heavyweights. Like, because think about it, man. Tai Tuivasa, he's before this fight, he's on a 5-fight losing streak, hasn't won a fight since 2022. Talison Teixeira, they kind of tried to push him against Derek Lewis, but then he got knocked out. So then you try and like have him rebound against a guy like Tai Tuivasa, who, is coming off a lot of losses. And you'd think if Teixeira wins, it's not like, how could you win a fight and somehow your stock goes that far down? Like, Tai Tuivasa looked horrible in this fight. He looked as bad as he's ever looked in the UFC. I don't even think he should be in the UFC after watching that fight. And I love Tai Tuivasa just as much as the fans do. But that's a top 15 heavyweight. And then Talison Teixeira, he barely beat that version of Tai Tuivasa. And this is supposed to be the next generation. Like, absolutely embarrassing, man. I can't believe that this fight was as horrible as it was, man. Just awful. Awful.
Scorched earth.
I can't say one good thing about it. Like I said, because I've never seen a fighter outside of when like Mike Jackson beat CM Punk. I've never seen a fighter have a win that looked so terrible.
You know what the real problem was here? It was the fact that Tai Tuivasa even had a chance and he still
exactly.
didn't even
He
really
should have
take
knocked
advantage of it
Teixeira
at
out,
all.
man. He should have knocked
The fact
Teixeira out in the
that
third round.
Taliesin Teixeira really had no interest in striking whatsoever. I mean, it looked like he was actually like.
Because he was exhausted. Like, I mean, dude, I thought this was actually kind of crazy.
No, but in a way, but I think he also just like respects the fact that Tuivasa can drop somebody at least, and so he's just a lethargic kind of. Even when it went to the ground, it's just like, well, those guys don't want to be there right now. And the fact that Tuivasa was hitting him at all, was just one of those things where it's like, well, if he's even touching him at all, then he should be able to win this fight. Like, he should be able to knock him out, right? And no, like, instead, you got a complete shell of the Tuivasa that was actually winning fights, and instead he chose to just clinch against the fence, make it, just the straight. Somehow it was 15 minutes. It felt like an hour, but just the lull that it was. And I mean, Taliesin Teixeira. It was like Taliesin Teixeira was just like, oh, I guess I have to be here for 3 rounds, so I might as well just get this win out of the way and move on.
I think it was more he blew his gas tank in the first 2 minutes of the fight. Like, he looked great in the first 2 minutes, but then, like, the thing is too, Teixeira before this one, he hasn't had a fight last more than 36 seconds in the UFC, which is kind of wild when you think about it, win or lose. So, like, the fact that he was as gassed as he was after those first 5 minutes, and then Tuivasa wasn't doing any better. I mean, both of them had their hands on their hips in the third round, man. Like, horrible fight. I can't say that enough, man. Like, just completely embarrassing that that's considered the top level of the UFC, man. Just awful. Like, heavyweight used to be such a fun division, man. Like, when Cain Velasquez was around, Junior Dos Santos, Stipe Miocic, Fabricio Verdum, even guys like Travis Brown, Brendan Schaub, Nogueira. Like, it was so much deeper. And today, man, it's just a joke. I mean, you got Tom Aspinall, maybe John Jones. We don't even know. I would say Ciryl Gane, obviously. Curtis Blades is really good, too, in my opinion. And, like, outside of them, like, Jailton Almeida, maybe. I wouldn't even put him up there, though. I don't think he beats anyone in that top. I don't think he beats Aspinall. I don't think he beats Aspinall. That's the bar right now, technically, because he's the champ. I hated this fight. Like, I truly, moving forward, I do not care when Taliesin Teixeira fights, because I've seen what I needed to see. That, I can tell you, unless he gets worlds better in the next few years, that dude will never come close to touching a UFC belt. So, like, I don't even... Like, it's not that he's not worth covering, but it's like, I'm never going to have the conversation that, like, this dude should be in the title picture, even if he wins 3 or 4 straight fights. Because it's like, what does that even mean? Like, there's nobody good at heavyweight outside of the top 5. Because I was saying this to you before the show, too. Like, Taliesin Teixeira, as horrible as he looked in this win, I still think he beats a bulk of the top 10, which is crazy. Like, I just, oh, man. Awful. Just awful. I don't even want to keep talking about it. Like, that's how bad. Like, there's nothing insightful to say. And there's nothing that you guys should be looking towards in the future. Because Tai Tuivasa, I mean, who even knows if he's going to get cut after a fight like this? And then Taliesin Teixeira, I mean, you basically just...
Yeah, but that's the thing, because one way or another, so in this case, poorly, making fun of it, yada yada, a heavyweight fight on the main card of a UFC pay-per-view it's gonna be talked about. It's gonna be talked about pretty at large as well. Kind of no matter who's fighting, but especially here, with Tai Tuivasa fighting in Australia, like, people are just for shits and giggles gonna put down Tai Tuivasa first round knockout bets.
I did a parlay, one of those last night. My safe parlay one, not the one with Tai though. I had a parlay yesterday. It was like a 3-legger and it was pretty safe. It was plus money though. It was Ruffy money line, Benoit Saint Denis. Wait, was it? No, it was Ruffy by knockout. Benoit Saint Denis money line, and then I had the Volk money line. It was like +4 something. So I made like a little bit. It was nice, but I put like a couple of bucks on like a crazy parlay. It was like Tuivasa by knockout, Ruffy Lopez by knockout. That one didn't go too well.
But because then you have the other side of that coin, and it's no, Taliesin Teixeira is not only going to finish Tuivasa in the first round, but he's going to submit him in the first round, and then that's where it gets. That's where the conversation becomes so just when you see how the fight actually went. It sounds so just astronomically ridiculous in hindsight, and then even beforehand, it's like, well, how could you have even had that thought to begin with? That Teixeira, I know they went to the ground, but man, that dude had a negative energy bar whenever that fight was on the ground. And so the thing with heavyweight fights is that people are going to come to see the first round finish. They're going to come to see the first round knockout. And nowadays, you're more or less just going to leave with two extremely heavy men just either not doing anything at all, not throwing anything at all, or just flailing and swinging and missing and just trying to get to the end of the fight. And that's what happened between these two last night. So
just terrible. I have nothing else. Like I have no interest in either of these guys, like moving forward in terms of like a serious contender. Because again, like Teixeira, he may very well get into the top 5 at some point, but
I don't know, man. Maybe we should make a prediction for who's going to be the next ranked heavyweight to score first round knockout.
I don't even know who's booked right now. I mean, let's see. What is even like? Let's see the heavyweight rankings right now. I mean, Teixeira just beat number 12. I mean, I don't even know who you give him next. Like, I'm not even excited about any of these. Maybe Gaziev. I think Gaziev beats him though. I don't know. It's tough. I just don't think he's that good. Like, it's so weird. Like that the UFC tries to keep pushing him. I'm like, he hasn't beaten anybody to get like the respect that like the odds makers keep giving him. Like he's, I don't know. I just haven't seen anything yet that tells me that he's an elite fighter. So, but this fight, man, from both of them, just terrible. I have no other words. I really don't. But
yeah.
Yeah, I guess from there, I mean this card more so than UFC 324. Like UFC 324 was really built, kind of like you were saying at the beginning of the show. It was kind of like for fans to get into the sport, like the new fans coming in on Paramount. But this card seemed like it was kind of built in a way where it was meant to like kind of be a showcase for like the Aussie crowd, get a lot of energy. Because you have, like you said, there were I think it was an Aussie fighter in almost every single fight.
Yeah.
So I feel like it was kind of made that way, but still hype though. I mean, I was thinking this before too, like the hype packages that are on the card and like coming out a couple days before the events, like they're starting to get a little better. The ESPN era, we were talking all the time about how stale everything felt, but then like you have UFC 324 and they had that Blink-182 opening with Travis Barker, and then they had like that cool War Pigs Black Sabbath montage at the beginning of the main card for 324, and then Bruce Buffer has that crazy like intro, welcome to the Paramount era. And then this card, bro, for the cold open, they had No More Tears by Ozzy playing there. I'm like, man, now they're paying for real music too. They're not just playing like the random, budget SoundCloud music, I guess. But if they keep making cool promos like that, man, like finally, this is what they need to get back to, because that's what gets people excited. It's what gets the people going. But for real, man, like, I've always said this, when the UFC deserves credit, I will always give them that credit, because when they deserve to get shit on, I shit on them too. but they've definitely improved that aspect a ton to start off 2026. So I hope that continues. I'm curious to see what the Apex card looks like next week, honestly. I'll probably, I don't know if I'll be able to watch it live because I'll be at the BKFC fights, but I'm curious to see what that looks like. But yeah, man, wasn't just the UFC this weekend, though. Got to talk a little bit of boxing as well. Shakur Stevenson fought Teofimo Lopez at the Garden, and he became the fastest fighter to win titles in 4 different weight classes. And I just need to say, man, like, Shakur Stevenson is so underrated, which is crazy considering he's literally one of the best boxers on the planet. But he fights like Floyd Mayweather. He's so elusive, and the way that he's able to manage his range so perfectly, like getting just out of the way and countering with the perfect strike every single time. He's just so clinical in there. And Teofimo Lopez, who's a legit championship level boxer, was swinging at air that entire fight. According to CompuBox, he was landing in the entire fight at a 15.4% clip. So across all 12 rounds, he landed 72 punches out of 468 thrown. That's unreal. Like, people don't realize how insane that is. So I just wanted to kind of shout out Shakur Stevenson, Jersey, born and raised, of course, Newark, represent. But yeah, I mean, just absolutely incredible performance, just a literal clinic. And then after the fight, Conor Benn entered the ring, and he wants a matchup with Shakur Stevenson. And, like, it's a big fight. Conor Benn has a name, but I just think he's a bigger version of, like, what Teofimo brings, and I think Shakur can do the same thing against Conor Benn, if I'm being honest. So I don't know if I want to see that. I was about to say I'd love to see Shakur fight a guy like Tank Davis, but Tank Davis has his own problems right now. I mean, who the hell knows if he's even ever going to fight again with all he has going on. But, you know, right now Shakur, he's showing a lot right now in the boxing world, and I think he's finally starting to get that credit that he deserves, even though he might not be like a spectator friendly fighter, but like if you're a boxing purist and you like watching just good technique, I mean, this dude is unreal and made history. So shout out to him. And then besides that, I did want to bring this up. Obviously, Zuffa Boxing, they ended up signing Jai Opetaia, who's arguably the best cruiserweight on the planet right now. And I was curious, like, how long it was going to take them to book a fight with him, and they finally did it. I think it's on March 8th, I want to say. I think it's the day after the BMF title fight. I don't know where... Here, hold up. I probably should have looked that part up first. Whoops. Yeah, March 8th. So he's going to be fighting on Zuffa Boxing 4. I mean, I love that. This is like... Zuffa Boxing, like, they've kind of really had, like, a soft launch to start off. And I kind of get that because, you know, they don't have all of the talent yet. But, again, like, getting a guy like Jai Opetaia is a massive signing. And then you're having him fight in the Apex, which is kind of crazy. Like, this dude's fought in front of, like, sold-out stadiums and arenas, and he's going to be fighting in the Apex. But I see the long game in this. Like, that's the thing. I don't think boxing fans quite understand Dana White and his goals, because they're like, well, Zuffa Boxing hasn't really been that exciting. They're fighting in the Apex. Like, clearly they don't have a big picture type of idea for this. But I'm like, these guys don't know Dana White. Dana White and Zuffa, they don't play for second place, man. They're aiming to take over, and like all of their actions have shown that they're aiming to take over. They're playing the long game. They're literally using the best lobbyists in the country to try and change parts of the Ali Act to make boxing more of like a UFC type of structure. And right now, like, there is a lot of momentum leading in that direction that it's going to work. And again, then you already have a guy this early on in the game in Jai Opetaia, who's an elite boxer, one of the best on the planet. Like, they're doing everything right. And that's kind of what I wanted to say about that. And I'm very intrigued for that fight because this dude is really exciting. He's one of the best fighters at his weight class, arguably the best. So to see him fight on a Zuffa Boxing card, like, it's kind of crazy. But like, I'm very curious to see what it does, because while it's not good for the fighters if it gets similar to how the UFC is, for the sport, it's pretty phenomenal to just have like one belt that matters. But, you know, I don't think that this is an overnight plan for Dana White. I think that this is going to be something that's years in the making. But I'll say this, it's 2026 now. I'd be very curious to see what this looks like in 2030. Like, just 4 years from now to see how much it's grown. But, only time will tell. But Zuffa Boxing 4, that's an event that you guys should keep your eye on if you guys want to pay attention to the steady climb that they're making. But speaking of Zuffa Boxing, it's actually on right now as we're recording this. It's Sunday. Probably going to put it out tomorrow, so Monday. But obviously, as you guys are watching this, it'll be Monday. But yeah, I actually kind of want to watch Zuffa Boxing too, so that'll probably be the end of this episode. But besides that, a lot to look forward to next week here on the channel. I'm going down to Philadelphia to cover Knucklemania 6 for BKFC. I'm looking forward to that trip, man. I'm going to try and write some articles while I'm down there, film some content. Expect a roadcast, even though you're not going to be there with me. We're gonna make it happen. I'm going to try and put out some content, maybe, if I can get a couple of interviews, hopefully, from BKFC. Maybe even just random things that I get up to around Philly in the days that I'm going to be there. And outside of BKFC, friend of the show, Zach Pauga, he just got a nice TKO victory in Dirty Boxing this past weekend, and I'm going to have him on the show towards the end of next week. Not sure what day the interview is going to come out yet, but it will be around that time. So a lot of exciting stuff happening outside of the UFC in the next week or so. Excuse me. But, there's an Apex card next week. I don't think we'll be covering that really as much. I mean, maybe a little bit. Maybe we'll talk about it. I don't know. But yeah, next week we're definitely going to be pretty focused on BKFC and talking to Zach Pauga about Dirty Boxing. Because, I was talking, we can kind of have this conversation to end the show. I was talking about this to Eddie Alvarez when I went with Jim down to his, not his event, but BKFC's open workout. I was kind of asking him about how he feels about all these alternate rule set promotions that are kind of on the rise, as the PFL and One Championship are kind of on a downward trend in terms of MMA. And it's cool that we're kind of getting a true chance to dive into all that this next weekend, because Knucklemania is always exciting. And BKFC, I think, out of all those alternate rule set promotions, is probably the biggest right now. And it seems like it's only growing at this point. And Dirty Boxing, Mike Perry's been doing a great job with that. And I'm curious to talk more about it with Zach Pauga. So, like I said, expect a lot of content outside of the UFC. But I think it's going to be pretty interesting because, right now we're in a space where by the end of this year, the UFC could have a literal monopoly over mixed martial arts. Right now it's maybe 98, 99%. But by the end of 2026, the PFL is not going to be on ESPN anymore. One Championship at this point is starting to get more towards Muay Thai and Jiu-Jitsu than MMA. So BKFC, Dirty Boxing, Karate Combat, these promotions, there's room to eat right now because they're not direct competitors with the UFC, but they have the same fan base. So I'm intrigued to see how this weekend goes, man. But like I said, expect a lot of content. Should be a fun time, and we will see y'all over the next week or so.
Feel just like a